We went to the Derby on Friday. We went to the Derby Saturday morning. And then my wife and I said goodbye to everybody. Thank them. Pleasure to meet you. And we're flying home for my son's high school game. And I had people saying, like, what are you talking about? How can you leave? Like, the main event is at 7 o'clock. You're going to miss the most important race that everyone is excited about. And I was like, that's good, but that's not the best use of our time tonight because we're going to support my son in his senior year playoff sports game. And I didn't even think twice about it. I later had someone from that event at the Derby tell me that they could not stop thinking about that for weeks and weeks after. And he said, that made such an impression on me. It really made me question, like, how am I showing up in my family? Because I would have never canceled the opportunity to meet these types of people in this types of circles for just a family high school sports game. And so, I think that's just an example of filtering for what's good versus what's best.
Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 485. I am your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com, and we're excited to have back with us the internationally acclaimed and 6 times best-selling author, Chad Willardson. Chad.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me back.
I know.
I can't believe you almost have 500 episodes, Barney. That's incredible. Congrats.
So close. And so also too, Chad, is that I have a rule on my podcast. Anybody who's been on 3 times gets the moniker friend of the show. So The next book you're going to write, you're going to have to come back on and you get that. And then you can add that moniker friend of the show on all of your book covers too. So
I like that. Perfect. It's awesome.
So for those that probably, for those that kind of missed when you were on last year, can you, for our new listeners and our new viewers out there, what's the short version of who you are and what you do day to day?
I am a serial entrepreneur builder, married 24 years, father of 5, 6-time founder, 5-time dad, 6-time author. I love sports. My background is in money and business, entrepreneurship, leadership. And I set a goal in the beginning of COVID to write 10 books in 10 years, having never written a book before. So I'm 6 books and 6 years down. I really sometimes wish I had set the goal to be 5 or 6 because I'd be done. But it's a lot of work to write a new book each year, but I've enjoyed the process, and I believe that we've impacted a lot of people. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Yeah, and it's amazing. When you were on last year, you were talking about the book Wealth Wired Differently, 7 Advantages Entrepreneurs Miss Out When They're Taking Financial Advice from Non-Entrepreneurs.
Right.
And that inspired me. And as we talked before the show, that it's kind of helped me and my wife kind of, redefine who we need to get financial advice from. And also too, is this now your newest book that just came out this past September, Fully Invested, Why Work-Life Balance is a Total Lie. I love this because as a Gen Xer, we're always kind of living in the shadow of the boomer generation. And before them, the boomers were living in the greatest generation, the greatest generation. And we're always evolving from the previous generation. And there was a really strong work-life balance that was instilled, in my parents' generation. And your book kind of flips the script on this, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I just feel like people are trying to wear different hats, different places, and doing too many things at once. And really, this is a different era. We have information at our fingertips, the whole world at our fingertips. People are connected and distracted. And it's very difficult to try to perfectly balance. You can't really have, this is my cookie cutter time to be my work self, and this is my family self, and this is my community self, and my health and fitness self, and my church self, my whatever. Like, it's just not realistic. I just haven't found it to be realistic. And I believe that you've got to actually just focus on what you want to be fully invested in and eliminate as much as you can for all the things that you don't want to be fully invested in. And my argument is you can actually win big in business and at home at the same time. Most ultra successful people I've met, and I've met many of them, and we're not even just talking financial, but very famous and wealthy people. I was disappointed by how many of them had terrible personal life situations. Just broken homes, broken families, no relationships with people they should care about. And I thought, man, this can't be the only way to be successful. There's got to be a way to still have a strong family and have a good personal life and be successful at work. And so that's been my quest, to really teach people how to be more fully invested in both.
And it seems like, too, is like, unlike your previous books, this one isn't necessarily for it's not really necessarily a finance or a business book.
Yeah. I mean, I give some basically like a family operating system and business operating system, time management operating system to help you optimize so that you can do well in your career and do well at home. This is not just for it's not just for ultra wealthy entrepreneurs. It's not an investing book, really. It's about how to be fully invested in many different areas of life.
And then, so what does it? So when you use the term "fully invested," in plain speak, what do you mean by that?
I mean that you give your full presence and attention to whatever it is you say yes to. So it's not the busy person who's at home at dinner with the family and has their phone out. Last night I was at a nice steakhouse in Los Angeles with a friend of mine, and the table next to us had two parents, probably in their early 50s, and then two teenagers. So it was, I'm pretty sure it was a family of four. It was at dinner at a nice white tablecloth steakhouse. And all four of them were elbows on the table with the phone right here in the face for the entire hour. And my friend showed up. I was already sitting down. My phone was in my pocket. He was finishing a call. And after about a minute of realizing like I wasn't on my phone, I was just sitting there. He said, "Hey, I've got to go. I'm sitting down to meet a friend for dinner." And he hung up and put his phone away. And we were both present and we had a great conversation. But I think the challenge is people are at home and they're distracted by work, and they're at work and they're distracted by home. And that's no way to live. That's a way to be mediocre or struggling in both areas at the same time.
Yeah, I know with my kids, I got an 11-year-old and I got a 9-year-old and I got a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And you're right. I catch myself and my wife, we're up in the living room, spending some quality time. I've been watching some old 80s movies just to make sure that my kids are really understanding.
That's awesome.
Watching Ghostbusters or Star Wars or something like that.
Yeah.
And I catch myself picking up my phone and flipping through it, and my daughter be like, "Daddy, put your phone away."
Oh, there you go.
She's very good at trying to. It's catching us and kind of berating us. My wife and I, and putting our phones down while we're there. Yep. So I appreciate that.
I bought a little something called the phone box. I found it on Instagram, and it looks like a little doorway, a little rounded doorway, and it's wooden, and you open it up, and we have it next to our kitchen table. And when we go to the kitchen, everyone puts their phones in the phone box and we shut the door.
Huh. Okay.
And it just keeps us present. We did it once for a family dinner. It was a holiday dinner where we had lots of extended family, and everyone put their phones away, and we're not allowed to retrieve them unless they asked one of the little kids for permission, So we had the most engaging dinner conversations because everyone was fully present.
Now, so let me ask you then. So, what's the most common pattern you see in successful people who still feel unhappy? Then,
it's that their priorities of what they say they care about don't match how they live. So they might have lots of money, but deep down they know. There's a client I used to work with who his main goal, like for some reason, he just picked this number. I don't know. He had to have $30 million in his bank account. Like he was obsessed with that. And he had his own construction business, and he was building and building and building. They had 2 children. He completely missed, he worked 7 days a week. He completely missed all of his child's growing up experience, both children. And he said he had, I think, close to 30 million at the time, and his kids were in their mid-20s, and he was trying to buy back their relationship. But he said how hard it was. He'd gotten divorced multiple times, and the kids were much closer to the mom. And he's like, it's really hard because they really don't know me that well. And I just find that too many people, they sacrifice what they want most for what they want now. Right.
And then ultimately, at the end of the day, it's you're doing this work for your kids too.
That's right.
So
yeah. If you're trying to help provide for your family, you shouldn't lose your relationship with your family in the process.
Right. Yeah. So how do you tell the difference between healthy ambition and slow motion burnout then?
Healthy ambition, to me, I think it's great to have big goals. And that's why I love encouraging people to say, hey, grow your business, grow your income, grow your net worth, increase your impact, and stay true to what matters to you. So if you're a family person, like invest time in your family, invest time in your spouse and your children, like go on dates with your spouse. Because I believe there's a quote by David O. McKay that is, quote, no success can compensate for failure in the home, unquote. And that is a quote that's guided me my entire career. So I have opportunities, maybe they're business opportunities, but they would make me miss a really important family event. And I will not, no matter the opportunity, I won't take it.
And so does your family, how do they feel about this book?
Oh, they like it a lot. I mean, there's tons of pictures in there. It's very personal. Someone recently read it and said, wow, this is the most personal, vulnerable, in-depth peek inside how you think about everything. And so I couldn't write it if the stuff wasn't true. My older kids and my wife would definitely call me out. So my oldest, they're 21 and 18 and 15. So everything in there is authentic and true and real.
Well, hey there. If you're enjoying our podcast, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep this show going. We love hearing from you, so any feedback is welcome. And thank you for being a part of our podcast family and for all your support. It truly means a lot to us. And so, in a way, is this book kind of masking as like a memoir to you as well?
It could be, yeah. Yeah, it really is. I think it'll be one of the legacy books that hopefully my grandkids eventually, when I have grandkids, they'll read this and understand who I am.
And so compare this to some of your other books. How was this writing this one as compared to the other ones?
To me, this was the easiest one because it's just second nature to me. You know, my signature tagline has been fully invested for 20 years. And I remember meeting someone, a very, very well-known person. I met them at a conference in Florida. And she said, man, you know what I've observed about you, following you online for all this time, is that you just seem really fully invested in everything that you do. And I said, that is so funny you say that. That's my signature tagline. That's my sign off. And she's like, do you have a book or anything about fully invested? Because I'd love to learn more about that. And I said, no, I don't, but I'm going to. You just gave me the title for my next book. So I think it's an approach to life to always be fully invested in what you commit to.
Right. And very trademark of your books is like you always have kind of like step processes. Yes. So this one has 7 strategies.
Yeah.
And the book lays out the 7 strategies. What's the first shift you want readers to make immediately?
I'm going to pull it out right now. The first thing you have to do before you shift anything is assess where you currently are. So I begin in chapter 1 having people rank themselves or rank their priorities and then rate themselves within those rankings. And those are different life categories that I feel are basically encompass anything you want to be working on. And the reason you rank them is because you want to see what's important today, like what matters right now, because you could be at a different phase of life and those things shift. So I have health and wellness, key relationships, money and wealth, family, faith and spirituality, personal growth, business, and then fun and adventure in no particular order. But as time goes on, different seasons, like those priorities can shift order, and then you can rank yourself. And then you have at least a benchmark, a starting point from which you can start to think about how to shift to be more fully invested.
And which strategy would you say is the hardest for high achievers to accept then?
Oh, I would say that's a great question. Thank you. I'd say chapter 4 is getting great at saying no. As ambitious leaders, we want to jump in and say yes. And we think success comes from saying yes and jumping and seizing the opportunities. But I've learned that it actually comes from filtering and being better at saying no. I had advice from a very successful client in the Los Angeles area. I was probably in my 20s, and I'll never forget. I said, "What's one of your secrets to success?" And he said, "I politely decline most opportunities."
Huh.
And I was like, "Wait, what do you mean? How would that make you successful?" And he said, "Because there are so many opportunities to be diverted or distracted or taken down the wrong path. And so I politely decline most opportunities." Thought that was really interesting.
Wow. And what would you say is one strategy that sounds simple, but kind of changes everything when you apply it?
I would say mastering your calendar, really getting great and intentional with your calendar.
Okay.
It sounds simple, but it's really not. And I've gotten better year after year of putting my priorities on my calendar and really trying to have better boundaries to keep my time and attention protected.
And what would which strategy would you say is kind of like the fastest as in the I can breathe again result?
Yeah, I think once I switched, I used to use Outlook as my calendar, and my work associates could place things on my calendar. Just put a call on there, put a meeting on there. And eventually I said, wait, this is backwards because I'm getting overwhelmed with calls and meetings, and I don't have time to do things that matter. So I switched to my Google Calendar, and I first put on my personal commitments, my family commitments, and then work commitments could be scheduled in between that. And so I basically put first things first, and that freed me up the quickest.
Okay. So how do you decide as well what's the good, better, best when everything feels important?
Yeah, good, better, best is one of my favorite filters in the book. Best. So good, better, best. So my wife and I were at the Kentucky Derby for the first time this May. We were in a private suite with lots of great people, significant, influential people. And we were invited to be in the suite for the grand finale race of the Kentucky Derby that Saturday night. That Saturday night, my son had a high school playoff volleyball game back in California. We went to the Derby on Friday. We went to the Derby Saturday morning. And then my wife and I said goodbye to everybody. Thanked them. Pleasure to meet you. And we're flying home for my son's high school game. And I had people saying, like, what are you talking about? How can you leave? Like, the main event is at 7:00. You're going to miss the most important race that everyone is excited about. And I was like, that's good, but that's not the best use of our time tonight because we're going to support my son in his senior year playoff sports game. And I didn't even think twice about it. I later had someone from that event at the Derby tell me that they could not stop thinking about that for weeks and weeks after. And he said, that made such an impression on me. It really made me question, like, how am I showing up in my family? Because I would have never canceled the opportunity to meet these types of people in this types of circles for just a family high school sports game. And so, I think that's just an example of filtering for what's good versus what's best. We don't often have decisions that are hard when it's like something that's good and something that's bad.
Right.
Those are easy decisions, but we often have two goods, and it's like, what makes more sense to focus on?
And, and we're talking kind of like, this is the strategic no section of the book, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And for people who kind of feel guilty about setting these boundaries, how do you coach them through that then?
Yeah, I think that we give our power away when we feel guilty about our decisions. I don't feel guilty about saying no to anything. I really don't. I've gotten over, I think there's a great power once you stop worrying about everyone's opinions of you and your decisions. Everyone has a different filter and lens, but I felt so empowered when I finally decided, you know what? These are my values and my goals. This is my family. This is my business. And I'm going to try to make the best decision every time, regardless of what anyone thinks.
Right.
And you take your power back when you think like that.
What's one habit that helps you switch from work mode to family mode then?
I would say trying to be where I am. So when we go out as a family, I really do try to master the phone, and I put the phone away unless it's for family pictures. So at dinner, we have the phone box. If we're at an amusement park, I'm not doing emails. Like, I think transitioning just from work to home, I'll make a couple phone calls. I'll make sure I close out with everyone I need to talk with for the day, and I'll transition. And sometimes I'll go put the phone upstairs, and then I'll go downstairs when I get home. And it's like, okay, now I got to switch gears and not be in work mode. It's not always possible, but I think we can be a lot more intentional about just being where our feet are.
Right. Now, what do you think then, like, kids notice about parents' stress that adults seem to underestimate?
Oh, it's crazy. Like, they sense it, even if you don't say it. They sense that you're stressed, you're worried, you're hurried. And by the way, if we're completely distracted all the time, like, what is that showing them? They have to fight and they have to behave badly to get our attention, really. And so I think that we can encourage a steadiness and confidence in the home when we show steadiness and confidence, because with kids, more is caught than taught, and they see us and experience us before they hear us.
So for founders and people that are actually entrepreneurs and running businesses, why do you think control is so addictive for founders?
They believe that they've got to be the one to do it because it's the right thing to do. And like, if I'm not the first one to hear at the office and the last one to leave, then somehow I'm letting my team down. I think businesses thrive when entrepreneurs have great systems and great people. So when you create great systems and you hire great people to manage those systems, then you have a real business that's thriving. And it's not dependent upon you meddling in every meeting and every decision.
Right. And then what do you say is like the first thing a leader should delegate if they're drowning in responsibilities then?
I mean, email and meetings. Most emails and most meetings they don't need me. So I delegated my work email inbox, 6 or 7 years ago. And I'm not in most meetings in any of the 3 core businesses. So I'm in some vision leadership meetings, but in most of the operational meetings, I'm not there anymore.
Wow. Okay. And so then how do you build trust in a team when you've been burned before then?
Yeah, we're going to make mistakes. I'd rather be on the side of trusting and making mistakes because I over-trusted than just controlling and choking out talented people. So I want to trust and train people and empower them and see them grow, and then check the pulse and build that trust over time. But, it's never going to work perfectly. You're going to get burned sometimes, but over the long haul, I think I've gotten better at hiring the right people and putting them in the right seats.
And so, talking about the book, then, what is the most meaningful feedback you've gotten from your readers so far on it?
Yeah, I mean, people just say, I do not know these people, obviously, but this one says, this is an absolute must read. Fully invested challenges the traditional idea that work and life should be perfectly balanced. Let's see, it's clear, it's motivating, it's straightforward. This is ideal for anyone who's tired of chasing balance. This one says, it's a refreshing wake-up call. Real experience, not theory. This one says, stop trying to split your time between work and life. Make yourself feel connected. This writing is genuine and down to earth. Yeah, so that's the feedback.
And as you mentioned too, Chad, this is your sixth book, but it's not like a series, so it's not like Harry Potter where you have to read the first 5 in order to read this one. But what would be, after somebody reads Fully Invested, what's the next book they should pick up after this?
It depends. If they have kids under 18, then I would say Smart Not Spoiled. Mm-hmm. That's a bestseller. That's a favorite. It teaches families and kids what to teach and how to teach your kids about money. Here's a review from another country. It doesn't say what country, but this person only gave me 3 stars, so I want to read it out loud. It says, it's inspiring but not actionable. When I read a book, I focus on how is it actionable. While there are glimpses of this, there are far too few actionable concepts. It feels more like an autobiography than a proper guide that I was hoping for. Shame, because I really warmed up to Chad during the reading. I just wish there was more tangible stuff to implement. That's fair. I thought there was a lot of tangible stuff in there, but I always like to read criticism too. So
it helps you get. It helps. I mean, and that's one thing too. Yeah, to hear.
I don't shy away from that at all.
And so, yeah, you said so. Smart not spoiled.
Smart not spoiled. If you have kids, yeah. I mean, if you're just getting out in the financial planning phase of your life, then Stress Free Money is a great book to read. If you're looking for fitness and wealth and health together, and Fit for Wealth is a great book for you. So,
do you have then, Chad? Because you said you have to write 10 books. Do you already have an outline of what the next 4 are going to be?
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I never know what book is next. I never have pre-planned my next book, so I'm still ruminating on book number 7. We'll see.
And are you sticking to this genre, or are you going to write some sort of like crime mystery next or anything?
Yeah,
like
no, I'll stick to this genre. I'm not creative enough for that. Definitely not.
Yeah. So, Chad, if people want to learn more about you and your books, what's the best place they could go to? Just my personal website, chadwillardson.com. Yeah, there it is right there. chadwillardson.com is the best place. Okay. Excellent. Yeah. Chad, I love chatting with you. I always learn something new and insightful every time that you come on. So I look forward to having you back on again next year, because you're going to write another book anyway. So I will for sure. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Barney. Appreciate it.